Hello there.
Hello there.
Welcome to another episode of What If Qui-Gon Didn't Die? My name's Jamie.
And I'm Shaun.
And in this week's episode, we're going to ask the question, do the rebels need the Ewoks?
Nicely put.
Thank you. We've deliberated on how we're going to title this, and this is what we've settled for.
Yeah.
So we know about the Ewoks in episode 6.
Episode 6 on
Return of the Jedi.
They're on Endor.
They're on Endor.
Not to be confused with Andor.
Andor, yeah.
Door. They're on Endor, aren't they? And the second Death Star is above Endor.
Yes.
Because
it's under construction. It doesn't have its own shield generator at that point.
No.
So it needs a shield generator to be in position
to
on
protect
the moon
it.
to protect it whilst it's being built.
And Palpatine, Vader are on there
They
together.
are, yes, overseeing.
And Luke's up there as well.
And Luke is on there in the story, yeah.
Yeah, because he comes down later, doesn't he, to speak to Leia.
Yes.
About being brother and sister and stuff.
Yeah, we do see him later because he's on the speeder. They're on the speeders together, aren't they?
Yeah.
And then there is the Ewok village where they have the little chat about being brother and sister, like we discussed in the other episode.
Yes, we did. So I've got a little thing here about the Ewoks.
Go on.
And this is just a little background into the Ewoks, and I think this is quite interesting. Just before we get into the rebel side of it.
Yeah.
So I was reading this earlier, and I've just got it up now for a few notes. So when the Ewoks were created, the film was made when America had just come out of, I think it was, the Vietnam War. So it weren't long after that the film was made. And I think there's a little bit of an idea going around that they were created with respect to the war.
Oh,
it's quite a deep thing.
Yeah, that is deep. I'd never noticed it.
Because obviously you've got the stormtroopers, which are the white man.
Yeah.
And obviously they've gone to a native place, and they're and obviously these people are just caught in the crossfire. And as well, we know from Jar Jar that Lucas loves to sprinkle a little bit of funny cuteness on certain aliens.
Yeah.
He's got his ugly aliens, but also there's always like the pig guards in Jabba's palace.
Gamorrean guards.
That's it, yeah. I'll just call them the piggy boys.
I'm such a nerd for knowing that.
Yeah, but that's good though. But even though they look menacing, they're still they're cute little pig men, aren't they?
Yeah, they're kind of weird, yeah.
Yeah. So and
squidgy.
Squidgy, and George Lucas is quite good at doing that. So when it comes to the Ewoks, I think even though some people don't like them, I think maybe the reasoning that they're in that film and the film was sort of road mapped around them is for reasons that aren't all Star Wars related.
Yeah.
Because they are cute little things, but they're native, and also we need to remember that they're obviously they don't speak the same language.
No, they don't. And we can't decipher what they're saying.
We can't decipher it. They view things differently, and they're sort of mystical because they just pop up. And they're not something that Leia's obviously down there. She can't control it. She didn't even know. All the stormtroopers don't understand at first what's going on, and then we get to Battlefront 2 game on the Xbox, and it's that sort of Ewoks versus Stormtrooper game mode, which is amazing. By the way,
I've never played that. That sounds good.
It's so good because you're either an Ewok or a Stormtrooper, and you need to defend through the night until the transport gets there because the Ewoks are out to kill you, and it's all done at night time, and it's difficult.
Is this like old fashioned Call of Duty zombies?
Kinda.
So they're just constantly approaching in waves, and you've got to...
Well, no, because the other team are real people playing as them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and you've got your torch, but the battery only lasts for so long. And you're like, where are they? Yeah, really good, by the way, people.
That does sound good.
Yeah, it's quite good. So, when we go into the Ewoks, yes, some people hate them, some people love them. Let's also remember money was needed to be made, so Ewoks make good toys.
Yes.
And they're better to make than Wookiees, because Wookiees are tall and furry, whereas Ewoks are short little teddy bears, aren't they?
Yeah, you can make loads of teddy bears. It's great.
This is it. They're short little teddy bears, and they sell better, and they're a bit cuter, because Wookiees are cute, but they're not. They're like big, strong, aliens, aren't they? To us, they're Bigfoot, whereas Ewoks are cute little teddy bears with funny little podgy walks.
Oh, the merch machine was in full effect at that point.
Yeah, so there's all these things going around with the Ewoks. I actually quite like them.
I like them.
Yeah.
So growing up, my favourite film was always Return of the Jedi.
Oh, was it?
Above Empire Strikes Back, but when I watched it, I was very young.
Yeah.
And, in retrospect, if I was to watch that film now, I'd probably look at it and go, oh, Ewoks. Like I said in the other episode about the little bonus about the different droids.
Yes.
And K2 being at first I thought comic effect. He's the part for the kids.
Yeah.
I'm not going to enjoy this. He's not for me.
Yeah.
I think the Ewoks are that generation.
Oh yeah, they're that generation's version of that. And again,
same with Jar Jar.
Yeah, linked to toys, linked to kids, made to be a little bit cute, a little bit funny. Oh, look at them.
Yeah, annoying.
Yeah,
as an adult.
Yeah,
but actually, I still look back at them with fondness because I grew up with those Ewoks.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody looks back with fondness at Jar Jar.
Well, unless you're part of the generation who was young enough to be that was your introduction to Star Wars.
Maybe.
Because there probably are people out there who quite like the Gungans.
Yeah. Well, I think the other Gungans, maybe.
Yeah.
The big boss.
Well, Jar Jar's a Sith anyway, so that's another episode.
That's another episode. But yeah, so I always preferred, growing up, I preferred Return of the Jedi to Empire Strikes Back. But Empire Strikes Back is far more grown up and adult in its themes, I think.
Yeah.
Whereas I think Return of the Jedi, a bit more child friendly, a bit more sort of accessible for all generations.
Yeah. Okay, and my next little idea and / information blast here.
Yeah.
The Ewoks are cannibals, or they eat meat. Anyway, so they look all cute.
Yeah, they strung them all up on the...
They strung them all up to eat them on spits, and where did they get the stormtrooper helmets from? When they were banging them like drums.
That's right, yeah.
They've eaten them, haven't they? Because they wanted to eat. They weren't going to eat Leia because little what's his face? He's actually got a name. The little Wicket. He likes Leia.
Yeah.
Fancies her little tushy. So he's like, I'm not going to eat you. I'm going to obviously chloroform you and do whatever I want later on. But Luke, Han, and Chewie are obviously going to get eaten. And even though it's quite funny because in that section of the film, they think 3PO is a god.
Yeah.
And all Luke needs him to do is translate for him. But because of his funny protocols that he says 1 minute, and then when he's sat in the chair, he translates it for him anyway. So his protocols have gone out the window. And Luke has to lift him up, doesn't he?
That's
to
right.
be like, oh, he's a magical god. And they're all going, oh.
He uses evil magic.
Yeah, he uses his evil magic to lift up, and then they let him go. Because 3PO actually says, they come in peace, let them go. If Luke wasn't there to do that, they would have been eaten.
Can I just circle back? You say about the Ewoks representing perhaps the Vietnamese people.
Yeah, the natives of an area. Yeah.
I've always viewed C-3PO as this magic, and that scene where he's magic and there's fireworks and there's all this is very sort of Chinese New Year dragon kind of flying, swooping around. Always pictured it like that, and I don't know why, but you mentioning those Ewoks being similar in sort of background, not the same but similar, then ties those two things up. So maybe subconsciously I've always kind of seen it like that, but never understood why. I just thought it's a funny coincidence, but a weird thing for me to think. So why would?
Yeah, but I thought that until I sort of deep dived a little bit, because the fireworks at the end, very sort of Asian New Year, and the dancing, and because it's a wood and it's dark, as Westerners, because I'm going around and sort of shot off here in a little direction.
Don't worry, we do it all the time.
We do it all the time. You know, when you watch war films, Vietnam war films, I mean, I might be totally wrong with this. This might be absolute bollocks. But
add it to your list.
Add it to my list. A lot of those films are filmed in forests, aren't they, or woods or something like that? Because it's all jungle warfare, which was what the Vietnam War was.
Yeah.
You know, it was horrible, and both sides really tragic, you know. And if you actually think about everything that happened to both sides, it's actually quite, you know, destructive and upsetting for both sides.
It's not horrific, isn't it?
It can't just be one-sided. Endor is a forest moon.
It is, yeah.
You know, and it's very jungle warfare. How, like, the speeders don't work there. You know, they had that little. It's not the it's an AT-AT, isn't it? Not an AT-ST.
The AT-ST is the bipedal walker. The AT-AT is the big quadruped.
Yeah, so you had the little bipedal in there, and it didn't work that well. But that was the thing, because it was jungle warfare. Which
There's so many parallels to be drawn.
Yeah.
I never ever considered this.
Yeah, well, yeah.
See, learning all the time.
Yeah, but obviously, again, we're not trying to say they are representations of an Asian culture, but because of the time, and maybe that little bit of information is true, and maybe Lucas wasn't trying to make them out to be that, but maybe he was sort of trying to represent how war devastates an area with native people.
Well, this isn't even the first time we've seen political parallels in the films that he makes. Because we've said about, you know, even something the most basic political parallel is the stormtroopers and the Nazis.
Yeah.
You know, the ruling empire, dictatorship, just people going to war because that's what they have to do.
Yeah.
All in a uniform that matches, all just spreading terror.
Yeah.
You know, the same thing. For him to draw another parallel somewhere else actually isn't that surprising.
No.
I'm actually more surprised that
we didn't pick up on it.
Because it was actually, there'll be plenty of people out there listen to this and go, duh.
Yeah.
That's obvious. How did you not know that?
Yeah.
Bearing in mind, I've watched this from being small
up to an adult.
Yeah. So there's things you don't pick up on because you just accept them for what they are.
Especially when you watched them at a young age.
Yeah.
And you didn't understand about war.
And your perspective doesn't change, does it?
Yeah. And also, we're not Americans.
Yeah.
So we only get a little bit, if there's anybody across the pond listening to this, we only get a little bit of information about it in our history at school, don't we?
Yeah.
We don't get
anything.
We don't get sort of a load of sort of lessons or study on it unless we do it later on as extra.
We learn more from war films.
Yeah, than we do actual school history lessons.
Yes, but that's just the way that
our curriculum is and stuff like that. Yeah. So if anybody is listening, like it might sound like we're really dumb, but it's just the culture over here. It's a bit different, isn't it? But yeah. So yeah, and that big old point sidestep there.
Yeah, but a worthy one. That's What a sidestep.
Yeah, that was my
an eye opener.
Yeah, that was a break well spent at work earlier, and I sort of got lost a little bit.
Yeah, I bet.
I was going and going and going and going, and I was going, oh my god, like all of these things, and it's mental. Because I just, like you, I watched it as a kid, like I've said many times with my granddad on VCR, and I would never have thought about it. But now I'm an adult, and I've read this information, and I look back, and it's just, wow. You know, how mental.
I mean, it's a funny thing, isn't it? Because these days you can read stuff online and go, well, who's made this? Is this actual fact, or is this just somebody's read into it and almost a conspiracy theory kind of
opinion?
Yeah, they've spun it to fit the narrative they wanted to find. Yeah, it does work. Yeah, but was that in the intention? Who knows? But once you sort of think about it, sometimes you go, oh, actually.
Yeah, it's more like 70-30 now, isn't it? Yeah. Like that wasn't actual, like, proofed information, by the way. Yeah. Like, so, like, there isn't a written thing by George saying that's what he did.
That's what I mean. It's
I mean...
an interpretation.
Yeah. And it sort of said, you know, he said in an interview once. I can't find the interview, obviously, anywhere. Yeah. So I've got no proof that is what happened. But... when we break it down and talk about it, it does sort of become, that's not so believable to... Hang on a minute. that's actually more believable than it would have been without the information, sort of thing. Do you know what I mean? It's
Well, lucky for you, you talk on a podcast where actually facts and figures are very rarely used, so you don't have to worry too much about it being accurate.
No, that's true. Yeah, it's not like anybody emails in to tells me off. So
we literally deal in our theories from the top of our head about what might have happened if something else happened.
Yeah.
So I think you're all right here.
Yeah. Okay. So going back to the scene, so they also eat people.
Yeah.
So we have to also assume that they
don't they also tie up R2D2?
Yeah, and he's just wobbling around.
R2D Tower.
Yeah. Which, by the way, in that scene in the film, he's rolling down the slope, which is full of tree roots and stuff.
Yeah.
He's not flying like he did in the prequels. He's just using his little roller. How has he not fallen over?
Because he's special, isn't
he? He must have the suspension of a god.
Stabilizes on those wheels.
Because obviously in the first 3 that were made, he never had his sort of flying jet things much, did he? It's only in the prequels you see him with all these cool new gadgets.
They had to move him out of the Daleks and
into the actual own thing. But yeah, that bit aside, yes, they catch him and it's obvious that they're going to eat him.
Mm-hmm.
So without 3PO telling them not to and Luke doing his little magic show, what if they had eaten him as well? You know, just to break away from our main question, if they had eaten our heroes of the story, it wouldn't be a good story because they're dead. But if they had done,
it'd be a horror film as well.
It would be a horror film as well. But no rebels would get to the shield deflector base to turn it off.
Well, certainly nobody with any authority.
Yeah.
You might get some of the rebel troops might get there.
Oh yeah, there was a couple of troops on Endor, weren't there?
But by the time they get there, there's nobody saying this is what we need to do.
Yeah. Do you know where the thing is? No, it's only plot armor that tells us where the big arrow is.
Yeah.
2 random dudes who wouldn't quite know what to do with it. But yeah, so if they had actually got their way and eaten them, the droids would be left, and nothing would happen then.
No, they would just probably be stuck there as gods, as deities.
Yeah.
Well, C-3PO.
Yeah.
And his humble servant.
R2, yeah. It would get the right amp. I mean, maybe if 3PO hadn't helped, maybe R2 would get his little flamethrower thing out and sort of, I don't know, break the ropes.
You probably lit the fire just to try and get him on side.
Yeah. Yeah.
R2's seen all the Ewoks. He's seen they've strung up all the others and gone, oh, I don't fancy that. Let's help them. Let's start
I'm on
the
the
fire.
one inside here. Yeah. So let's also just move away from the fact that the Ewoks might have eaten our heroes. Now, if then, say 3PO got them out of that situation, and Wicket didn't fancy Leia's little tushy, and because it's after that Luke goes up to the Death Star, isn't it, to bide for time. So Luke goes off, and then Leia and 3PO and Han and that sort of be like, oh, you know, we could do with their help because they know the jungle or whatever. I can't quite remember how it gets to the situation where the Ewok with the little wings that, you know, physics dictates
with the stripy,
and he's throwing the rocks on the AT-AT. Like, physics says he shouldn't be able to fly with that thing on, and it bugs me.
It's all right.
Yeah,
lightsabers don't really work.
No, this is true.
You have to suspend disbelief.
Yeah. So if they hadn't have managed to sway the Ewoks to help them, half of that fighting, and I know it's a little bit funny because there's like little bears killing men, but we got to remember they're just stormtroopers are a sort of comic relief. Yes, they're the bad guys, but they're not the main bad guys.
That's why they can't hit anybody.
Yeah, they can't hit anybody because A, plot armor, and B, they're just there to be, stormtroopers, hilarious.
Oh, yeah.
They're crap. You know, the real baddie is Palps and Vades, who's up top on Death Star. And we don't care about the stormtroopers dying. You've said this before because we never meet one.
No, we don't. We don't know. We don't know who's behind the mask. They could just be robots. We'd have no idea.
And to us, they are basically they're more robots than 3PO and R2.
Yeah.
Because they're all the same personality. It's like they're manufactured.
Yeah.
And they're manufactured so we don't care about them dying.
Exactly.
So the Ewoks wouldn't help them take on that. I don't want to say it's a battalion, but squadron or whatever of stormtroopers. And the rebel guys also wear the helmets.
Mm-hmm.
We don't care about them either as much, because even though we can see their face, they're not our Leia, Han's, Chewie's.
Yeah, and we don't see them suffer as much as the stormtroopers even.
Yeah, so it really does make us sway towards stormtroopers are getting beaten up here, but we don't care.
But there's also more stormtroopers
than rebels.
So you always fancy the underdog.
Yeah, of course you do.
Because,
it's a hero complex, isn't it?
Yeah.
You will do it because the odds are stacked against you.
Yeah, so you see fewer of the rebel foot soldiers getting in trouble.
Yeah.
But you do see them getting sort of rounded up at one point.
Yeah.
There's only a few heroes, but there's a lot of stormtroopers, but you don't care about the stormtroopers dying or losing because, one, you don't see them. Secondly, there's so many of them, you're rooting for them to lose anyway.
Yeah.
So, yeah, then I suppose when we see those Ewoks come in, they turn up with numbers.
Yeah.
And actually you celebrate that because you go, the tide is turning on this battle.
The turn of the tide.
Yeah.
And of the white.
Look how the tables have turned on the tables.
Yeah. How the turntables.
How the turntables have turned.
Yeah, how the turntables. Yeah, so if they hadn't have helped them, obviously when it gets to the point where the AT-AT's following them through the woods and the Ewok isn't there flying over the top, throwing the rope on it, they haven't got the rope tripping them over.
Mm-hmm.
They're not mauling.
They haven't set up the predator traps like Arnie did.
Yeah, they haven't set them up for the stormtroopers. They're not jumping on the speeder bikes. Physics again. How can a little bear jump and catch up to it? That speeder bike's going at least 70 miles an hour.
Yeah, legs aren't long enough.
Yeah, they couldn't jump and land on it. But yeah, if they weren't doing that, by the time Leia, Han, and Chewie gets to the bunker, because Han's still a bit. No, he's not blind then, is he? He's sort of
he's all right by then. Yeah,
yeah.
Everything's back to normal.
Yeah. By the time they all get there, the stormtroopers would have just rounded them up, and then that would be that.
Well, they surround them at one point, don't they?
Yeah. So they nearly do win anyway. It's only because the Ewoks come at the end.
The Ewoks ambush them.
Yeah, and Wicket leads the charge. Fortashi! But all that would have happened was the shield would have stayed on, Luke would have had to go up there, and then in the end, Vader would have had Leia in lock and key again, and he would have just killed Han and Chewie.
So, jumping ahead slightly, because you've mentioned Luke goes back up anyway. He was always going to go back to the Death Star.
He was always going to go back up, yeah.
Now, this might be actually another episode question.
Okay.
But I'm going to drop it in here. Did the second Death Star need to be destroyed? And I only want to briefly touch on this because actually I like the idea of this question because I've got more to say about it. But Luke defeats Palpatine, Vader in that finale. Palpatine supposedly dies.
Yep. He's come back again.
Vader succumbs to his injuries.
Yep.
So he is essentially dead. So there's nobody running the Death Star.
But there's still obviously admirals and stuff.
There'd be admirals.
But they would be taken over by the rebels, wouldn't they? The rebels would have gone on ship and sort of...
Luke's there. He would have taken care of the majority of the control.
Yeah.
And then would have been able to rescue the rebels from anywhere else and would have overtaken the Death Star.
Yeah.
With that being said, would the Ewoks actually have mattered so much in helping defeat the Imperials at the shield generator site? Is that
probably not, because like you say, because Luke goes up there to bide for time, doesn't he?
Mm-hmm. But ends up defeating the baddies.
Yeah,
single-handedly.
Yeah. So why did they?
They only did it because they wanted to destroy the Death Star. So the whole story was revolved around. There's a new Death Star. We need to destroy it. The only way to destroy it, to get the ships on there,
get the bunker, blah blah blah,
destroy the shield, then we can get it destroyed. But actually,
because Luke then does that,
did they need to destroy the Death Star
when they could turn it to rebel usage? Imagine that. Even though they wouldn't be able to use a weapon of mass destruction.
But I don't want to talk too much about the Death Star yet. Like I say, I'm going to save it because I want to talk about the Death Star in a separate episode.
All right. We'll put a little pin in that.
Little pin in that.
Little pin in that. Yeah, but that.
There you go. There's a future sneak peek
episode,
for another episode.
So actually.
So we've just answered the question so quick. I'm really sorry. We've just answered the question.
Yeah, the podcast's only 10 minutes long. But yeah, because if they weren't there, I reckon obviously Leia would have been taken up prisoner anyway. Until it's all very much everything has to happen at once and all slot into place. So Leia might have been kept prisoner or killed. Han and Chewie definitely killed.
Oh, without doubt.
But they're in so many situations where they're not killed when they should be.
Yeah, they'd just be imprisoned and then somebody would save them.
Yeah, but that's just their own little plot armour that they've paid for, But
they smuggled that one in.
Yeah. But I don't know, because I think the story needs to go that Endor is liberated by the Ewoks, which are the natives.
Yes. So you always have to. I think we have, for the purpose of this episode, we have to believe that the Death Star had to be destroyed.
Yeah.
Regardless, it needs to be blown up.
Yeah.
And yeah, like you say, the liberation of Endor from the rule of a third party.
Yes.
Is actually the real story.
Yeah. It's not
once
just
you take
about
away
the
the fluff of the Death Star. The Death Star itself, yes, it's operational at the weapon point, but actually it's not moving anywhere, it can't go anywhere, it can't do what it needs to do.
Yeah.
Because it's tethered to that moon.
Yeah.
Until it's fully complete. So yeah, the actual story about it is that liberation.
Yeah. Yeah. And the Ewoks need to be a part of the fight to do that.
Yeah, because they need to liberate themselves.
Yeah, it can't just be Han, Luke, and Leia.
Again, more social commentary from real life.
Yeah.
The people who are oppressed need to liberate themselves, and nobody else can do it for them.
Yeah, they can have help.
Yeah,
but the main focus has to be on them doing it, and they do it in their own way, don't they? Even though they're little teddy bears just biting the ankles of these blokes with armour on, apparently. Again, physics. I'd like to see a teddy bear chew through a plastic shin guard. That quickly, anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, so if they didn't do that, the ending of the film would be very different, I think, because if they weren't liberated, Leia, for example, maybe they somehow get in and turn the shield generator off. Luke defeats Vader and he comes back down and he finds Leia, but there's no party because the Ewoks are little flesh-eating baboons who killed Wicket for betraying them to fancy Leia.
Yeah.
So they killed him and ate him, and then they wouldn't have their little celebration on there. They would go back to a spaceship or something, and have the little, oh, well done, you killed Vader, lovely, celebration, job done. Like very much like in Episode 4.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be another one of those. And then, but then it takes away because obviously they're at the party, and that's when, it's before then that Luke speaks to Leia about being brother and sister, isn't it? It's not at the party.
I think it is at the party, and they step off separately because they've been so they were taken captive, and yes, Leia was separated and Luke was as well, but Luke was also then at that point liberated because he's then controlled C-3PO. Yeah, was this prior?
Yeah, so then, but wasn't there the bit where 3PO's telling them the story of Star Wars?
Yeah.
He's in the hut, isn't he?
Yeah.
And it's a riveting story.
It's a great story. It's the most exciting he's ever been.
Yeah. And he's so animated.
When he's doing the sound effects and everything.
Yeah. Is it then that... Yeah, because it's then that Luke speaks to Leia. Because is it then Han comes over and says, "Oh, you love him, don't you?" And she says, "Yes, I do." Pause.
He's my brother.
Like a brother, because he's my brother. And Han goes, "Oh, well, I'm glad we boned and you told me that after."
Yes, and then Luke goes up.
Luke goes up to deal with Vader, because he knows Vader's up there.
Yeah.
Because he goes, "I know Vader's up there." Yes, so that all works out well. And then
they liberate. And then they do the shield and
then it's the party. Party after that, yeah. Because that AT-AT going through the woods, that would be able to mess face if it wasn't taken out. And because of the speeders being gone, because obviously the stormtroopers knocked Leia off.
Yeah.
And Luke. And obviously the rebel troopers. And then they were rounded up anyway.
Yeah.
If the Ewoks weren't there, I don't think any amount of plot armour would save our little gang of heroes. They would probably have to wait until Luke came back and set him free. Luke would then have to do the whole thing on his own as well. And for a story, it'd be very monotonous for us to just be like, "Oh, it's Luke again.
He's smashing everything.
Yeah.
He's invincible.
Yeah, he's had to come down and he's just had a fight with his dad. He's all upset. And now he's got to come and kill a load of stormtrooper blokes to release our heroes because the Ewoks haven't done it." And I think it's quite nice that even though people moan about the Ewoks, I think it's quite nice that we see the Ewoks do it.
Yeah, I think so.
Because it breaks up the story, doesn't it? And it's the little guy, like you said before. It's the outnumbered little guys.
Mm-hmm.
And they literally are little.
They shouldn't have had a chance.
No, but they managed to somehow pull it off. And because it's them who help our heroes, we then feel for them more. Because we're like, you've helped people we care about for 3 films running now. You've got them out of a sticky situation here.
Yeah.
Whereas if they didn't do that, it would be like, everybody would hate him all the more. And again, Lucas needed to sell toys. Money needed to be made. So if a chief exec said, "Don't let the little teddies help them, make the film end differently,"
yeah,
we probably then wouldn't have even had Ewoks in the film. Because the original idea, I think, was for it to be over, what's the Wookiee planet?
Kashyyyk.
Kashyyyk, yeah. It's supposed to be over that. But obviously he made it Endor to put the Ewoks in there. Just Wookiees backwards.
What?
I don't actually think it is. I'm just saying it out loud. I'd need to write it down. Where's your pen?
Don't do this to me. Don't blow my mind like this. No, it's not.
It's Wookiees.
But it's not far, is it?
Yeah, it's like a sort of backwards anagram of Wookiees.
An Ewok is also an anagram of woke.
Yeah. And they are woke.
Yeah.
AF.
Woke AF. Oh my gosh. You had me really worried there for a second.
I know. That's why I had to write it down.
Ridiculously simple. Thank you. Right, so it's not.
It's not actually backwards. But
it's similar enough.
Similar on the tongue. Wookiees. Ewoks. Wookiees. Ewoks.
Smaller. Ewok is a smaller word.
Yeah.
Ewoks are smaller than Wookiees.
Yep.
Baby Wookiees.
Yep. And somebody said, we don't want to sell Bigfoot toys because,
there's already Bigfoot.
There's already Bigfoot out there. Let's sell little cute teddy bears because everybody's going to buy them up. And even kids who haven't seen Star Wars are going to want to buy cute little teddies with little hats on.
I'm going to have to get Minnie. I bought her years ago when she was tiny a Wookiee like cuddly toy thing.
Oh, okay.
It's lush. I'm going to have to get it here.
Yeah.
Might get it
little mascot.
Might get it featured in a little clip.
Video. Yeah. Go on then. I have some Star Wars stuff I could bring round, just to give us a sort of vibe on the table.
Yeah, just more tidying up, don't it?
Yeah, that's it. I'll just plonk one over there.
Well, like an episode of Blockbuster.
Yeah.
Got my little cuddly toy there. Who's that? Is your mascot? Yeah. Who's this? Yeah, this is Jeff. Comes with me everywhere. How long have you had Jeff? Since I was a baby. Grow up, mate.
Yeah. Now, we all have things we've had since we were babies. Come on now.
Sure.
I've still got my little teddies.
Anyway. I don't know if I've got anything. Oh. I'm just that miserable, cantankerous
old bastard.
Don't keep anything.
Yeah. But yeah, back to my point then. So, somebody somewhere, and it might not even been a money thing. It might have just been Lucas actually really liked where he was going with the story.
Mm-hmm.
Like we said, little guy stands up, blah, 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 good and evil. Again, like we've said many a time, this story is good versus bad in a roundabout way, even though everybody's a bit bad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So the Ewoks, we think, the Ewoks are well good. They help defeat the Star Wars, but they are cannibals.
But they are going to eat people, yeah.
And they eat people. And they have no qualms about what they do. Because obviously they're, portrayed to be native sort of... Savages, yeah. But I think even if they weren't there, then they wouldn't have been in the story at all.
Yeah, they were either going to be in
the story doing the story we know, or Lucas would have gone, nope, if they can't be in it and help, if they can't help save the heroes, what's the point in even having them in there? Because all the aliens, apart from obviously the aliens in Jabba's palace and the canteens and stuff, most of the other aliens that we see or know have an impact on the story.
Yeah, they've got something to do somewhere.
Like the calamari people.
Yeah.
They do the Federation ships or whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's a trap. The Twi'leks are the slave dancers. Yeah. They have a purpose in the universe. If the Ewoks didn't help our heroes and liberate themselves, what's their purpose? And they might just be a little flutterby. Maybe Leia would meet one, but it would just run off. She'd be like, what's that?
And that would be that.
Yeah. It's like the Jawas. We meet him in episode 4 for the first time, but then in Mandalorian season, we see them with a different purpose, don't we?
Yeah.
Because they bring the parts in for the ship. So they're not out in the desert scavenging, picking up droids. They've actually got a purpose and they communicate with a human.
Yes.
And it's the same for the Ewoks. If the Ewoks didn't communicate and have a purpose, they wouldn't be in it that much.
No, they would just be...
A flyaway alien, Yeah. They'd be like banthas. Oh, look, there's an Ewok over there.
Maybe one, like Wicket, would become
a prominent part of the storyline.
But the rest of them wouldn't need to exist.
Yeah.
And he would become the comic relief in himself.
Yeah. Because he's the only one there. And we're going, oh, look how cute he is. He's so funny.
Yeah. Oh, look, he doesn't quite understand what's going on. Oh,
yeah, and he's just waddling around, getting the ump.
Yeah.
Because Leia's gone off. And that whole thing with 3PO telling him the story. Because even that scene for us as viewers, I think that reaffirms the story we've lived so far. Mm-hmm. It's sort of like oh yeah, there's the sound that ship makes.
A lot of that stuff has happened. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Oh, this is quite funny. That it's C-3PO has now finally got a purpose outside of just being an annoying protocol droid who doesn't actually do anything at all, ever.
Apart from being a little bit of comic relief with R2.
Yeah.
He's
R2. He's the direct translator for R2 sometimes.
Yeah.
Because he helps contextualize what R2's saying sometimes. We understand what he's saying most of the time.
Yeah.
We know when he's sad, we know when he's happy, but sometimes he'll say something that's supposed to be rude, for example.
Yeah.
And C-3PO will be like, you can't say that.
Yeah. And just emphasising the fact that it's rude.
So he becomes his translator in non-contextual chat. Which is really his purpose, I suppose.
Yeah.
It needs to be a twosome.
But why would they take the droids down to Endor anyway? They need R2 to use his USB drive trick to get in the door.
They only need R2.
They don't need
C-3PO is just kind of there. They're a package deal, I think.
Yeah.
But because of the way those films are, so when you see episode 1, 2, 3, they are split up more often.
Yeah.
Because they've got their own purposes. Whereas in 4, 5, and 6, they're always together. And that's how they are. They're a duo. They've become sort of inseparable.
Yeah.
And so I think it's not possible. It is possible. Definitely it's possible in reality for them to be separated. But for that timeline, for that story, that they are together.
They have to be together, yeah.
Yeah, there's no reason for C-3PO to be there. He's not cut out for the jungle.
And who's he... Because they didn't know the Ewoks were there. Who's he translating for?
He's not translating for anybody. They've gone down as a specialist squad.
Yeah.
Of humans.
Yeah. And a protocol droid and an R2 unit, which is actually not a unit for sabotage, because they were built to sit in ships, weren't they?
Yeah,
navigate droids.
Yeah.
You know,
so even they know what he can do, but they didn't really need him to be there.
No,
but actually, it's because they would have just turned up with a
door open droid
with the charges, because they blow it up, didn't they? Or they were just going to blow up the doors and just storm it.
Yeah.
But
it's only because they're being shot at, isn't it, that they need R2, because he can override it quicker than Han can shoot the door open
and then run away. Yeah,
yeah.
With the blast doors.
Yeah,
yeah. So again, some sort of weird plot armor kind of.
Yeah.
Here's a twist that we need. We want all the characters to be in one place because it's easier to film as well. So from a production point of view,
yeah.
They don't have their own story to be doing, but we need to have these characters in because they've been there from the start.
Yep.
They're one of the first characters you meet, and this is a narrative that we need, so people feel connected to the story. I think it has to be persistent.
And for Luke to come back and the whole squad be there.
Yeah.
Because Luke goes off, but when Luke comes back and there's victory,
everybody's there.
Everybody's got to be there, even 3PO and R2.
Yeah, because if they were just doing what they should probably be doing, then when they have that celebration at the end, if they're not there, they haven't completed their story for the viewer.
Yeah, this is it.
Which is kind of a weird thing, but once you break it down, you kind of go, well, what was the point in them being there?
Yeah.
But actually, it's just it's a continuity thing.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's like you said in the other episode with the droids, like, we view R2 and 3PO as characters because of their almost characterization.
Yeah.
Because they're droids. But at the end of the day, they are droids.
Mm-hmm.
They're robots. And yeah, we feel a connection to them because of their sort of funny ways.
Yeah.
But if they were literally factory reset, we wouldn't need them to finish their story.
No.
Because it would just be like, oh, they're not as funny as they were. Okay, don't worry about it then.
But this is what we said in the past. They are just droids.
Yeah.
They're not people. They are just they're a series of buttons away from being reprogrammed.
Deleted. Yeah.
Yeah, and just being the same as everybody else. But somehow they've always been spared.
Yeah.
They get close to being wiped and reset, but
saved.
Yeah,
saved for us.
R2D2, he's a feisty one.
He is.
He'll learn in time.
Yeah, he'll shut down for three more films. Don't worry about that. But yeah, and it's
again, that's the Jawa ship.
Yeah,
that's the overseer droid there.
Yeah.
About to dole out the justice to the slave droid.
Yeah. That's it.
All these parallels.
I know.
Oh, it's so deep, isn't it?
Oh, God.
Anyway, did you have any further points to make?
Not really. We didn't really answer the question because
we can circle back in conclusion to the question.
Oh, okay.
As we're want to do. Ask the question. Talk about anything but the question.
Talk about the droids.
Come back. What is the question?
Come back to the question. Yeah, because
So the question is: Do the rebels need the Ewoks?
Do the rebels need the Ewoks? No. Does the story / everything else need them? No.
No.
But does Lucasfilm need them? Yes.
Yes. The rebels could have. But the rebels couldn't have blown up the Death Star without them.
No, but did they need to with Luke going up there?
Arguably not.
Right.
But the story, I suppose the story was always...
Story would have been boring without it.
The story was to destroy the Death Star.
Yeah.
And then, like you've said in the past, you've got the main storyline runs through the middle.
Yeah.
And with all the stories we see thread around it.
Yeah, just on the outside.
To strengthen the rope of the story itself.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah. Yeah.
So the story was destroy the Death Star.
Absolutely, yeah. It wasn't about Endor itself or defeating the stormtroopers on the planet.
No.
It was get rid of the Death Star and hopefully he'll defeat Palpatine and Vader, yeah.
And that restores nice justice, balance, all these other fancy words just by destroying Death Star. So the Ewoks were needed for that storyline.
Yeah.
But not to defeat Darth Vader and Palpatine.
Yep.
And everything else is circumstantial.
Yeah.
Would have made no difference.
The film would have been shorter.
But the film would have been really, really short. And might have been interesting for those 5 minutes of watching Darth Vader and Palpatine and Luke fight it out.
But also, but it's that thing, isn't it? We would miss out on so much, like you say, 3PO retelling the story, and even though it's like 2 seconds of him in the hut telling them, we then get that feeling of, oh yeah, there's a whole massive build up to this.
Also, you've got to remember that Star Wars itself is an ensemble film, so it's not a singular character starts here, does all the. It's not John Wick.
No, yeah,
it's multiple characters, multiple stories, all intertwining, kissing each other. Find out that they shouldn't be kissing each other, then
kissing each other.
So you need to find that. You need to find the end of the story for every single character.
Yeah.
And like we say, the droids didn't have to be there, but they did to finalise their story. Yeah. Even though, yes, the story continues. But at that point, that was the end of the story. So that was the important thing. So it had to happen.
Yeah.
In reality, it had to happen.
In reality, it had to happen.
It didn't need to, but it did.
If there was a book of, if somebody redid a little cartoon, like we said about the what if stuff, if Luke went up there and just Palpatine and Vader and did all that, and then he flew back down and saved Leia and Han from the stormtroopers, the Ewoks could have never even been mentioned, and it wouldn't matter because the speeder race would have still happened.
Yeah,
stormtroopers still would have alerted everybody else to come and get rid of Luke Skywalker. Oh, there's a Jedi down here. Let's get him. Vader told us about him. He's the only one left. He's dangerous. We need 1 million of us. Luke can't be protected for that long. And then you would never have seen an Ewok. And if you did, it would have been a fleet in, there's an Ewok over there. Somebody found that it's called an Ewok in an old script that was on eBay years ago.
Oh,
but you're not actually told it.
That's
the
true.
Names.
Yeah.
You wouldn't even know they're called Ewoks. You'd just be like, "There's a teddy bear over there," and then they go, "So actually, no. In the scripts, it's called an Ewok. It walks by in the background." and that would be that. And it's very interesting because the film would just be totally different. Like you said, there'd be no little guy wins.
Yeah,
it would just be Luke saved the day. And I think it's more interesting that it's not all Luke.
Yeah, because
he's not actually that interesting of a character, Luke. They try to make him interesting.
He's the one with the superpowers.
Yeah.
But he is not the one who does the bulk of the work.
No, that's it. It's superficial.
Yeah.
Almost. I know he helps Vader get rid of Palpatine.
And he does save the day a couple of times, but the reality is that the story is built around the rebels doing rebel stuff.
Yeah, not Luke just being, he's not actually like an exciting character because of he was more exciting obviously in episode 4 and 5, I think.
When he was learning, when you were growing with him.
Yeah.
But by the time we see him in episode 6, he's grown and we've missed a chunk.
Yeah.
And he's just turned up and we're like, oh, now he's just amazing.
Now he's wise and he don't talk much and he puts his hands behind his backs and
Yeah.
sort of stands like a granddad instead of being like rushing around and being this young boy who was wanting adventure.
He's sort of lost his spark, hasn't he? But he's gained his wisdom.
He's gained power but lost charisma.
Yeah.
Almost, if it was D&D, he's made a bad roll. Critical roll. So yeah, in that respect, I think the Ewoks help the film.
They help it move on. They help the saga, don't they?
They help the saga move along. Yeah. And it might have been different as well, because if they did plan and they did go ahead with it being on Kashyyyk, maybe they would have had Wookiees and obviously Chewie would have been a bit more involved, and the story would have progressed using the Wookiees instead of the Ewoks.
Yeah.
And then we would have never ever met an Ewok. They wouldn't have even had to be created, because all they would have had to do is make Kashyyyk up. It
could have made a whole more interesting story arc for Chewie as well.
Yeah, could have given him more flavour.
Because
he's a prince as well.
Everybody loves Chewie.
Yeah.
But we don't really know anything about him in the films. He looks like Han Solo's dog.
Yeah.
And there's theories that actually it's the other way around. Han Solo is Chewie's dog.
Yeah.
But that's
just
for another time.
Yeah, that's for a darker side.
So in conclusion, we cannot. We don't have an answer.
No.
There's two sides to it. Make your own minds up. Let us know what you think.
Yeah, please do.
Because we just spout this constantly, but we need to know, what do you think? What difference would it make to you if you were to watch it and to remove those Ewoks? Would it change anything? Let us know.
Yeah, because if you're one of those people who hate Ewoks, like you get the keyboard warriors who absolutely hate them.
What would you do differently?
And, remember, the film has to be like an hour and a half long.
Yeah.
So if you don't have the Ewok bit in there, what you're filling it with, and don't tell me it's just more Vader fights.
And that's boring.
It's boring, yeah.
Yeah, my opinion on Marvel stuff, boring. Too much action.
Yeah.
You need story, you need background, you need characters, you need something interesting.
Yeah.
And Vader is a one-dimensional character.
Yeah.
He's great. One of my favourite baddies of all time.
And he's got depth, but he gets depth from the extra stuff, not from the films.
Yeah.
His scenes in the films don't give him depth. It's everything around him that gives him depth. So, yeah, let us know what you think. Let us know what...
Yeah, come on, Ewok haters, bring it on.
Yeah,
let us know.
And if I like what I read, we could mention it in another episode.
We'll have you on...
Yeah.
We'll read out your message and we'll discuss it and we'll explore it.
And then, maybe we can get a little sort of narrative going here of what people think, and stuff like that. And then maybe get a little mention. Who knows? But you have to get in touch first for that. And all of the getting in touch information are in the show notes.
That's right, yes.
So please have a look there if you wish to get in touch with us. And we look forward to hearing from you.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, well, that sounds like a great place to wrap it up.
Lovely.
So, look after yourselves.
Be good.
And stay out of the sand.